And happy Tuesday morning, everyone. Great to be back on the Con-Versation. And we have returning guest, Nzondi. And last time when we talked about his horror novel, this time we're going to talk about music. So it's a completely different world from books to music. So what got you started in music?
You know, my father. My father was the definition of the textbook definition of a Renaissance man. He was a painter, a poet. He was an activist for African Americans, and he was a songwriter. So he wrote a few songs that are still classics today. One by Miles Davis. He wrote the lyrics to "So What." So if you ever heard that song. A song called Chameleon and a song called Bitches Brew, which was also by Miles Davis. So I think just hearing him be so proud of those songs and always turning it up when it came on the radio is through osmosis, through association is, how I really got influenced by music way back when I was about 18 years old, a long time ago.
Well, for me, that's been ages, probably not as long as for you.
Let's see, that's 38 years ago. Yeah.
Ooh. All right, maybe about the same. We won't tell anybody our true age, though. So before the show, we were talking a little. Now, you actually worked with some big names before.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to meet some pretty cool people, and then through that, it was just kind of like a tree of just meeting these really, powerful people in the music industry. So literally, I didn't even tell you this. Literally, from being at the Jacksons' home in Encino to meeting Prince to Dave Moreno, who plays drums for Puddle, who played on my song track called Teenage RockStarr. A lot of people. Recently, just through a job, that I did when I was working at the Oscars, I met Lenny Kravitz. And I just been kind of lucky, kind of like that Forrest Gump, that Forrest Gump kind of life where you just go through these different amazing experiences and you're like, how did I get here? That's me.
Wow. Now, books and music are so much different. What's the biggest difference for you? What's the hardest concept?
I think the hardest for me with the music is it's a lot of it comes out of my heart and not study. So everything I do, if people like it, I like it. I have no idea if the technique is right or whatever. It's just something that I do out of my heart and just from being a big fan of music. Most people are a fan of music, I think, anyway. And writing comes from, a history of studying, a lot of research, classes, workshops, education. And so that's deeply rooted in me. As a matter of fact, I've never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I've had, over 55 different jobs since I was a teenager, 15 years old. always worked 2 or 3 jobs every year, even during spring breaks, college breaks. So I've always had a lot of jobs, and I've never really belonged to any group. I still don't feel like I belong to to music. I don't feel like I belong when I'm hanging out with other artists, musicians. But when I'm with writers, I belong. I feel like I belong. When I'm with horror writers or sci-fi writers, I belong. So.
Now that's an interesting concept,
Yeah.
because it's like definitely get along with a lot of the writers, and it's to me a completely different world, especially when you're talking to other writers, because it's like you can actually see their mind working, and it's like, okay, where's this story fixing to go?
Yeah.
And it's with any conversation, actually. It's like, where are we going? But going on with that, would you say the music influenced you into horror, or were you influenced into horror before that?
I was influenced into horror before that. I mean, oh my God, since I was a kid, I was drawing King Kong and Godzilla comic books, watching Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. We had Creature from the Black Lagoon. We had a Creatures Features TV show, just watching that, and then when I got into playing video games, Resident Evil, I would play that until I could finish it in 2 hours. So that, it's just like the horror and the sci-fi. Twilight Zone. My birthday is on the 4th of July. This is the first year that I didn't watch at least 2 or 3 Twilight Zones, during the 4th of July. And just, so horror and sci-fi and speculative fiction, that's rooted deep in me since I was a little toddler. Since the first time I woke up, and we used to have a milkman, and he would deliver the bottles of milk, and I would go out and get the bottles of milk and bring them inside. And one day I went out, and there was blood on each one of little droplets of blood on our steps. And I followed the blood and went to the right down the sidewalk and went to the left. And in my mind, I started creating what happened here. Was it a dog? Was it some kind of monster? I was a little kid, was it some kind of killer, trying to get in a house? And ever since then, I've been enamored with horror and science fiction.
Yeah. Who did the milkman kill?
Yeah, who did you kill? I never even thought of that. Yeah.
You're gonna have a new horror film called The Milkman.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Okay, Greg.
That's a good concept right there.
Yeah, it is. I like that.
It doesn't just deliver milk.
He delivers terror.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. See, now my mind's going.
That's a good idea. You got to collab on that.
Interesting concepts that you come up with during a show. And just to say hello, everybody, real quick before we get going here. Now, you just got back into music.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be hard doing both at the same time, writing and?
It's a headache, man. It's extremely hard. I'm not going to even lie about it. If I had ADD before, oh my God, just keeping my attention on one thing, coming up with ideas and then wanting to do this and stick to finishing, a chapter or whatever. It's ridiculously hard. But the thing about it is I love it. So,
You like keeping busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, at the beginning of the show, I did post a couple of links for people to go listen to some of the music. Now, do you think that you're ever going to maybe be inspired to maybe write a horror music?
When you say horror music, you mean a song that's horror inspired?
Yeah.
And that's all I do, man. A lot of stuff I've done is like that. So Teenage RockStarr, which came out July 22nd last year, is a song that's inspired by the book that I'm writing now. And in the book that I'm writing now, these teenagers, the milkman smashed them guts. Yes. I like that. Sorry, not sorry. this group of teenagers that play in a band, you know, when they're not playing in the rock band, you know, they're traveling through different worlds and different universes, you know, solving crimes, supernatural crimes. And the lead singer from that band in my book, you know, wrote a song called Teenage RockStarr. And that's the first song that I released, starring Dave Moreno on the drums. He plays with Puddle of Mud right now. And shout out to Fredro Starr, who's touring right now all over the world with his iconic group Onyx. So yeah, that song is based on, you know, like all the vampires that suck the life out of you. That's really what the song is about. Vampires that suck the life out of a teenage rock star.
Now that would be interesting to get a Bram Stoker Award for that.
Yeah. Woo!
that would be a highlight for you.
Yeah, it sure would. Hey, you know what? Speaking of the Bram Stoker, you know, it's like once you get over the excitement of, oh my God, I won, you know, and a couple of years pass, you know, a lot of my friends, a lot of my author friends, horror friends have won multiple awards. So now I feel like I'm in the minor leagues. You know, it's like, okay, you won one award. Come to me when you've had several of them, you know, and it's so weird. It's like I always feel like, you know, I got to do more and more and more. So yeah.
That's interesting. Getting the concept of having to do more.
Yeah.
It's like, as I know, I'm working with somebody about actually working on a second Western, and the idea's there, and it's like, we just got to get started on it.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually with a horror author, to go figure.
I love it. Yeah, that's the key, man. You got to get started. I know so many people that come to me, oh, I got this story, da 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 da. And like my neighbor came to me, you know, I have this book. I want you, you know, I don't know what you want me to do. All I know is writing a novel is more than just writing down. You know, you have to know grammar. You have to know, you know, there's a lot of stuff you got to put together to make it good. And I'm not here to teach you that. That's your own journey. You know, you got to do that yourself. Yeah.
And it's a mixed concept as well, because it's like working with another author is actually fun in itself, because it's like you never know where the story is going to go because you're working chapter to chapter.
Ooh, that must be fun.
It is, actually, because it's like you have this idea in your head, and then it's like the other author's done, and it's like you have to switch your idea because they changed the whole concept.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's cool.
So it's definitely fun.
I look forward to one day collaborating with, you know, with a horror writer or one of my mentors or one of my heroes or even just one of my colleagues. It would be kind of cool to do that.
Now, like I said, I did post. Is there anywhere else people can listen to the music?
Yeah, man, I'm everywhere now. I'm in all the, not everywhere. I mean, I'm just an indie, but I mean, I'm on all the streaming sites. So you just look up. If you just put in my name, which is N as in Nancy, Zond as in David, I, and Nzondi, you know, if you Google that, you know, you probably find a lot of the stuff. I just released an EP called the Tequila Anthems Listening Party. And there's 3 songs. I've actually written about 5 songs that have to do with tequila. And Tequila Sunrise, Tequila Rock and Roll, Tequila Rock and Roll, the hard rock version, and also the Latin version. And I have a few other versions I didn't even release yet. And then I got this Jimi Hendrix style version that's just, you know, Johnny Human Torch just torching the whole track with his guitar solos, which I haven't released yet. Called Ella. What is it? Ella a la tequila. She loves the tequila. Ella la ama tequila. That's it. Ella la ama tequila. She loves tequila. I think that's it. And yeah, so you go on, you put Nzondi. Now, if you put Nzondi tequila at the song, one of the songs Tequila and Rock and Roll, I didn't know at the time, but there's actually a tequila brand called Tequila Rock and Roll. So if you Google that, that'll keep coming up. So you won't find me. But if you just put in Nzondi, or you go on YouTube and put in Nzondi, you see all the tracks, that I've done over the last year.
Now, is there anything that you can tell us that might be coming out soon?
Well, I have this track that's on the EP that we, right now we were just yesterday, the 24th was National Tequila Day. So the promoters have been really promoting the tequila songs, but now that's over. That's over. I'm sure they'll promote it for the next, month or so. And then in August or late August, you will start promoting my punk rock driven song called Dirty Underwear.
I hope that song's not soiled from the beginning.
It's dirty, man. It is soiled. But it's a fun song. Played with my old band when I had a band called Web Slinger. And, I brought it back. It was a track I did years ago. I brought it back, remixed it, mastered it. And, really it's about just, meeting a really beautiful, incredibly glamorous model and going out with her and how she rips me to shreds, because outside she's beautiful, but underneath her is dirty. She's just a dirty, mean, nasty woman, and I want her outerwear to match her underwear, so her outerwear is beautiful, but inside she's dirty. So that's really what it's about. Yeah.
Now, any words of wisdom for anybody getting into the music industry?
Don't. Oh man, listen, if you want to get into music, you got to really love it. I have two schools of thoughts with music. My friends, I'm always open to playing the angel's advocate, but a lot of my friends my age in the 50s, who are in music, my peers that have been in music since the 90s or 80s, there's this old adage that anyone who loves music always says, and it's this quote is, music is not the same anymore, and it's never going to be the same, but when they say it, they're really making a comment that it sucks now. That's really what they're saying, that it sucks now. Back in my day, we had real musicians. And I'm like, every era has real musicians. Every era has musicians that suck. I think what it is the time that we really experience music is when we're free. When are we free? When we don't have kids, when we don't have mortgage bills, when we're teenagers, when we're high school, we're going to our first dance, we're going out with our drinking buddies, we're getting high for the first time, listening to music, whatever it is, when we're teenagers. And that's when music is so a part of us, and that's when it's really deep in our heart. And then when we have to grow up, go to college and get jobs or whatever, music is not that strong in our lives, unless you're in the music industry or doing something that's music related. It's not that strong in our life. And we don't keep up with the trend of what's going on. And so what we hear, we're not even listening to it a lot. We go back to what we listened to when we were growing up. So it's not the same anymore. And so the thing I can say now is this generation, technology has made music really, really, really easy. I mean, I've actually mixed songs on my iMac, on this computer right here, on my iMac computer. I can mix it now. So instead of going to these huge, big studios, using engineers and mixing the music and all of that, I can easily do it here. And now they have apps where you can just take loops and create your own drums and this and that. You don't even have to bring in a real drummer. So they made it really, really, really easy. And in that regard, a lot of that music by those people who make music is different. I won't say it's not as good or as bad, because just like anything, there's good artists out there and there are bad artists out there, every generation. But I will say that the technology has made it really, really easy and accessible to make music. It's a lot easier. And it's not the same. But if you take someone from the old school and give them this new technology, oh my God, they can really do some wonderful stuff. So in that regard, my advice is study the greats who inspired the people you love. Study the greats who inspired, them. And if you study them to the point that you know their music inside and out. You know what a Jimi Hendrix lick sounds like. You know what his riff sounds like. So when you hear someone emulating him, you're like, yeah, it's not the same. You know, or whomever, Lars Ulrich on Lars on from Metallica. You know what, you know the pattern to the point that you know who the drummer is. When you study it like that and you take the new tools, you can come up with some really spectacular music. So my advice is study who the greats study. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks, Mark.
It all depends on the influence sometimes. That's true as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It really does depend on the influence this times, because that's the other part of it too. That's a great comment. Because back in the days when I grew up, when you grew up, we had Wolfman Jack. Hey, baby, it's Wolfman Jack, and I'm gonna play a little Captain Antonia right now. He was playing music. We were influenced because we had a diversity of music on the same radio station. We would have, you could literally hear Captain Antonia, then you could hear Elton John, and you can hear Earth, Wind and Fire, then Rick James. And so hearing all these different types, you can hear Cher, hearing all these ABBA, all these different types of groups and bands and music. You can get influenced by them and come up with something really different, because you had exposure to all these different types of music. Now, radio stations play a certain genre. It's not as diverse now. And so it's whatever you listen to is what's going to inspire you. So you might not even hear Sammy Davis Jr. or Frank Sinatra. You might not even hear that anymore. You're not listening to that, that type of station, which is probably minimal types of stations that play vocals and that type of music, or Barbra Streisand. And so again, study, the great people you love, study, and then you might be able to get exposed to that, which is, it's nobody for the newer generation. They're probably not going to do that anyway. They're going to just listen to what they think is cool, what they like, But if you're a really true musician and you want to not just be a part of the industry, but really add to the dynamic of music, you will do your, you will hone your craft. It will be important to you.
Definitely. And I do want to thank you for being on the show. And everybody just Google Nzondi, Nzondi, and you'll come up with some of his songs. Probably his book too.
And also add, if you hey, come check me out on IG, on Instagram. I'm not really big on Instagram. Excuse me, but it's the only thing that I'm not really on a lot of the other sites, Twitter. I mean, I have a Twitter account. I have TikTok. I don't understand TikTok at all. I'm on it. And, old school Facebook, but I don't really get on those as much. But Instagram, you can find me under Ace Antonio Hall, or Nzondi Ace of Horror, Nzondi _Ace_of_horror, Nzondi Ace of Horror. And check me out. Follow me.
Yeah, definitely. But until our next show, which will be in about 30 minutes, everyone,